Hello, everybody. Welcome to this incredible interview with an amazing woman from Houston. Her name is Sarah. I can't wait for me to introduce you to Sarah and for you to hear a little bit of her story from rags to riches. So if you guys are watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, maybe you're watching the replay, I want you to say hello. Let us know you're here. Sarah, thank you so much for being here and for spending a little part of your afternoon with us.
My pleasure. My
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
I would have begged to do it.
Say what?
I would have begged to do it had you not asked me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So Sarah's been so excited to share her story because it has been quite a transformation in these last few weeks. This woman is incredible in a million ways. I absolutely adore you, Sarah. You are as hungry of a client as we've ever worked with. You were decisive. You were committed to growing. You knew there were blind spots. You were extremely coachable. And that's the kind of client that we want to work with, because what God can do with that kind of a fertile heart is absolutely phenomenal. So, Sarah, let's share a little bit about just maybe where you were before you found turnaround marriage. What was, the toughest part in your marriage and what was going on?
Well, so for the last several years, we've just been living, as you might hear a lot, as roommates. And, we've been married for 25 years. I actually called you. I had my breakthrough call with you, with Scott, the day after our 25th anniversary. So it was just, we just both become very complacent, and all the operational stuff in the household is being taken care of. The boys were getting to school, food was on the table, but there was no love and no connection anymore. Not no love, but it wasn't outwardly shown. And in August, David told me I wanted a divorce. Kind of hit me out of nowhere. Even though I knew nothing was great, I knew that, it just shocked me, because I thought we were just going to do this for the rest of our lives and just exist. So my kind of from that day forward, I committed myself to finding a solution. I've tried a lot of things. I've read a lot of books. I've talked to a lot of people. I've talked to a counselor. And until I found this program, nothing was really working. And I think that's because, over time, I've always been a Christian. But I think over time and through all the difficulty, especially in COVID and, lockdowns and stressful teenagers and, just a lot of stuff, homeschooling. I mean, through all of that, it was just too much. We didn't have the right tools going into it to survive it. And I really lost my faith, or at least the strength of my faith. I've always believed, but God wasn't with me like He should have been. And through this group, I've reconnected with God in more ways than I have ever been connected with God. God is is number one in my life. I've even told my husband that, you take a backseat to God. You're number two.
Yes. Well, and what you shared is, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, because complacency is pretty easy to slip into that. It's like you have to be intentional if you want your marriage to grow. And if you're just kind of existing and operational and life starts happening, we go into different phases of our marriage. And when we have teenage kids and there's homeschooling and there's bills and there's stress and there's COVID and there's crazy, all that, it's like, it's real easy to grow apart. And so when your husband shared those words with you, it was like that day, that moment of, oh my gosh, maybe that wake-up call you needed. What were the emotions you were feeling in that moment?
I think the first thing I felt was fear, because I like to be prepared, right? I like to have a plan going into battle, and I felt like I just kind of got taken off guard and just, like this isn't happening. Like there's no way. We were doing okay. We were still married, right? Even though that wasn't the kind of marriage either of us wanted. And so I was just terrified and sad, very sad, and also mad, because I thought, how dare him? How dare him do this to me, to us? Like, that's just not, it's not fair, And I just, that day, I just decided I have got to figure out I'm a problem solver anyway by nature, and I had to figure out the puzzle, like
Mm.
it's not working.
Yeah. And because you were so determined and not discouraged when thing after thing after thing didn't work, and you were just a researcher and a problem solver by nature, and you kept looking and searching, what was it you were really looking for, Sarah, when you found us? What was that thing?
So maybe the best way to answer that is to not answer it, because like literally the day before I booked a call with you guys, I booked a call with someone else, and I was almost ready to commit. And there's just something that didn't feel right about it. And I thought, no, I just need to put them off, like just say, I need time to think about this. And then I had a call with Scott, and it was like God came into me and said, like, this is your path.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
so, and what's interesting is right after David, my husband, told me that he wanted a divorce, I, of course, threatened him, no way, I'm not agreeing to that. We need to go to counseling, the whole, and he refused. And I finally probably threatened him with the kids or something. I don't know, something is emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And he finally started going. And so the one thing I'm really thankful about the counseling is that it's kept him engaged long enough for me to work on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he has been on the verge of leaving several times during the course of the last several months. But I
Yeah.
think him having kind of that commitment to our counselor has kept him in the game long
Mm-hmm.
enough for me to do what I needed to do.
Mm. So that's what I want to talk about next is what was it about you that you realized you needed to grow, or did you even know coming in? It was like,
Yeah.
obviously you guys have been complacent. You've been growing apart. You've been just kind of going through life as roommates. Uh, I'm sure there was resentment and hurts and things have just been piled up that you're not talking about anymore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what was it about you that you realized, you know what, I need to work on this? Or did you discover it once we started working together?
A combination. I think before I found you guys, I was trying to find out what was wrong with him.
Oh.
And when I found you, I started working on me and getting closer to God in personally,
Yeah.
and to understand what my role. I wasn't given an instruction manual when I got married. And I wish I had been, because I didn't know the rules. I didn't, even though I read the Bible, I'm aware of what the general highlights are, but I don't, like honoring him and respecting him and loving him, showing him my love, all of those things. I had to be reminded. And that's how I've improved myself. And also one thing outside of this time, I've really gotten back into me. I had lost myself for so long. My
Mm.
kids were so much my focus that, if you asked me what my favorite thing to do was, it would be, oh, go to a little league game, or be a team mom, and now I've gotten back into the hobbies and things that I've really lost and enjoy. So I think this has helped me to build my self-esteem and my sense of self-worth, which
Mhm.
is noticed by my husband. And I
Yes.
think, that's what I'm getting out of this.
I love it. I love it because a lot of people think, and if they go to a traditional counselor, their counselor will often say, well, what do you want to work on? You want to work on you? You want to work on your marriage? And we at Turnaround Marriage believe you have to work on them simultaneously. If God says we're one flesh, how can we isolate those? We have to. And so we do a lot of work on growing the individual and especially reconnecting with God, because when the pain comes and when the hurts come, it's the enemy gets in there and we can get distant and get angry, and then nothing good can happen. So I love, Sarah, that your heart's desire was, you were so open, you were so ready, and your faith just started exploding, and the growth in your own heart and mind started exploding, and recognizing who you could be. And the other thing that we see a lot too, Sarah, is people come in hoping that the other person will change. Well, I've already been doing everything and this is on you. And but you were just like, you know what, I can't change him, I can change me. And by you showing up and giving him the honor and becoming and rediscovering who this beautiful, incredible Sarah is, he noticed, right? And so I'm curious, how quickly did you start to notice things feeling different between you and your husband?
Probably within the first 2 weeks.
Mm.
Definitely in the first 2 weeks, maybe even sooner than that. But then again, it was still kind of a roller coaster, where
Sure.
we'd have good days and we'd have bad days. And I think the more I became self-assured in who I am and what I have to offer the world, um, it became a lot easier for him to back down, kind of, and like just kind of get on my same page, like get
Mhm.
on my same wavelength.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, even last night, for an example, we were having a conversation about something, and I said, "Do you really want to do this right now? Look how we've been having such a great time. Like, let's just let's push pause. If we need to talk about this, we can talk about it later. Let's just sit here and enjoy each other." So it's like we're both able to kind of manage each other now a little bit better. Um,
Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. So you started noticing things starting to change in the first couple of weeks. And then obviously it's not linear. We tell a lot, it's not like there's a straight line going up. Everything is going to get better and there will be no more problems ever, right? There's challenges, there's things that come up, but every opportunity, I was always, you looked at it as an opportunity to grow, right? And so tell me, what was that moment where you were like, oh my gosh, this is working, this has worked, like I'm not in this fearful state anymore, like I know our marriage is going to be okay. When was that moment, do you remember?
um, I guess it was probably almost 3 weeks ago. I think
Yeah.
2 to 3 weeks ago. Um, I had been noticing a lot of change in him towards me already, but nothing was really cemented until he called me out of the blue. And keep in mind, we work a block and a half from each other, and have for over a year. So he called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, are you free for lunch?" And I said, "Yes." Like, if I'm not, I am. Like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And he hadn't asked me to lunch at all for a long time because of COVID and then going back to work. So we went to lunch, and the first thing out of he was beaming, smiling, and the first thing
Mhm.
out of his mouth was, "Sarah, I love you so much, and I'm not going anywhere. I've seen such a change in you, and I remember now why I love you, and I'm never leaving."
Oh my goodness. I can only imagine being a fly on the wall that day at the restaurant. What was your heart doing and feeling in that very moment?
I felt like I needed to throw up. Um, and it was just like butterflies. I was so nervous. Again, I like to be prepared going into battle. Like, I don't like surprises. And that was kind of like, wow. I was actually worried going to lunch after, because I was over analyzing. Why is he asking me to lunch? This is
Mhm.
unusual. I'm excited, but I'm curious and I'm nervous. And I got there, and it was kind of like I was expecting the worst, and it was the best. And
Mm.
so I was just butterflies in my stomach. I mean, I couldn't stop shaking.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Um, praise God, praise God. And I know for both of you, you had kind of wandered from the Lord, in your own ways, just disillusion, complacency, hurts, things piling up. And so I guess how would you describe the connection that you and your husband have now, and just like what your hope is for the future?
Well, so I'd say right now it's the closest we've ever been. I mean, we've been married 25 years and together longer than that, as boyfriend, girlfriend,
Hmm.
He's my high school sweetheart, honestly.
Wow.
Um, and I think we are both in such a happy place. Like, just, like, I'm excited for him to come home today from work. And, that wouldn't have happened 2 years ago. Um, and he's I've just noticed him more willing to help out and like raise his hand as, "Oh, you want me to put those clothes in the washer? Or do you want, hey, I'm going to go and fix these shutters. Is there anything else you need fixed?" Or, just
Mm.
little like things he would completely avoid before. Now he's really trying to, you know, do be the fixer, the man, the hero, which is appreciated because I have wanted him to be for a long time.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's amazing, and there's a lot of people out there that will say, they're frustrated because their spouse has said, I'm done. That's it. I want out. I'm not doing this anymore. And they are begging them to get help. They want them to get help. And maybe the other one is unwilling yet, right? And so what would you say to those people who are, maybe the frustration is building and they're resenting their husband or their wife because they're not willing to get help? But
Mhm.
obviously somebody needs to go first, right? And that was you. So like, what would be that thing that you would want to tell them, as far as like, what can they do?
Well, so I was going to say something that kind of answers that question.
Yeah.
So being, actually one of my best friends is my priest, so it's like that would have been my natural, and actually I did reach out to him and told him, I'm really kind of concerned about going to Christian style counseling because I don't want to push David away even further, because he had lost his faith over, the last period of years. And so he said, I agree. Like, I think it's important that you focus on your faith, but if he's going to be, you know, put off by that in some way, I want the best help for you. And so he suggested we go to a regular counselor, so which we've been doing. But through that process, I found you and realized that it didn't, at first I was very scared because I thought it's going to take both of us to do this together. Like, I was trying to find a solution that we can both do together,
Mhm.
and I couldn't find one. And so that's when I decided I needed to work myself, not only on myself, but on my marriage. And um, I was skeptical, very skeptical that it would work, because I mean, how does that work? I mean, how can you change another person? Well, I'm not changing him. I can't change him. I can only change me. And because of the changes in me, we've been successful in this.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, because that's the exact thing that we try to communicate. And it's like an example like you, it's like, here's the proof in the pudding. Because, if I think it's going to take both of us, and if I'm dragging him along, or he's not willing, or, vice versa, if I'm the husband and, my wife won't come, um, that can just be so discouraging. But see, that's the thing, Sarah, you were unwilling to give up. You were unwilling to wave the white flag, and you were just so committed to finding a strategy, and especially a biblical strategy, right? And so I just want to anchor that for everybody out there who maybe you realize you've gotten complacent, you're living as roommates, or maybe there's a lot of conflict, or maybe there's just like your spouse has said that they're done and they want out. If you're out there and that's you, do not wait until they are ready. You need to take action right away, the way Sarah did. She was like relentless to find the right help, and she did not quit until she did. And, when that happens, and when one person can grow and treat somebody differently and communicate differently, and even just in their being, be different. And it's not like we're putting on a show, but like to do the work that we do in your heart and your mind and your soul, the way you did, Sarah, so hungry, so coachable, so willing, as I've said. Um, like the response is incredible when you see your husband soften, when you see him come near instead of draw away, and pull away, or whatever. Like, that's the beauty of what one person can do. And so I'm just so thankful that you're willing to share this story, because I think that is such a message of hope for people out there who don't want to get divorced, but they don't want to keep living this way either. And it's like, what can I do if my spouse isn't willing? Well, let's get to work on you and on your marriage simultaneously, even if they're not on board yet, right?
Can I add
Now, go ahead. What did you want to add?
one thing? And if I had to say, if I'm thankful for one thing in my life, the most thankful for, it's that my husband told me he wanted a divorce, because it allowed me the opportunity to grow, and for him to grow, and for our marriage to grow and blossom.
Oh,
I never thought I would have said that, but it's actually the best thing that's ever happened to me.
isn't that a shift in perspective? Oh my goodness. Yeah, because without that, you guys would have just still been existing in a miserable marriage where you're just operating and living under the same roof. And
Miserably.
Yeah, no connection and no affection. I mean, that's such a statement of growth too. I mean, because you basically turned that worst day into your best day because that was now the day that you decided things were going to be different. So here's the thing, Sarah. I know for a lot of women, especially that we talk to, sometimes men too, when they're offered the situation to work with us and they're scared because their spouse is not on board. They're scared to even make an investment of time or energy or resources because they think their spouse is going to be upset or there's uncertainty around that, and they don't know if they don't want to make it worse, right? What would you say to those people as far as making that decision to invest in yourself so that your marriage can be saved? Would you speak to that?
Sure. So when I had my breakthrough call with Scott, we talked about, okay, would you like to start doing it today? Or, and I said, well, really, I think I should need to think about it. I don't know if we should spend money on this, or I don't know if I'm going to have the time. I've got kids in all kinds of activities. And I got a message from God at that very moment that said, this is your path. And I took out a credit card, honestly, and paid for it that way because I didn't want to have to tell my husband that I was doing this because, number one, I didn't want to push him away and I didn't want to tell him I was spending his money, our money. But I wanted to see if it worked before I kind of spilled the beans on it, right? And I actually haven't even had that conversation with him yet completely. He has been made aware that I've done this study, and we're getting there slowly. And it's not that I want to lie to him. I just don't want to scare him off, and I don't want him to, but he's definitely becoming more open to talking about it. So, but again, I did it completely by myself, and I think I'm better for it, actually, in a lot of ways, because I could devote as much time or as little time to it whenever I could find the time and not have to coordinate with another person. So I thought that was a positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's not like we're trying to hide anything from your husband, right? At the same time, it's like we don't want to say, well, here, I've joined this course and you need to come along with me and do it with me. And this is how much money it was and all that stuff, because what they're going to go is, I'm not doing that. Most likely the response is not going to be what you want because they don't know that it'll work yet. The goal is for you to grow, for him to see the changes, right? And then that conversation can come at the right time. But for you, Sarah, to have the courage to take out that credit card, to say, you know what, I'm going to pay this back. I am going to invest in myself and take this risk because the other risk is too big, right? And because I hear the prompting of the Holy Spirit and I'm going to go ahead and obey, even when it's scary. Like, for you to be that courageous, it is so beautiful, because you were literally like, all your chips were in, right? It's like, I'm in, I'm going to do this. And, let's see where it goes. So I just want to honor that about you, because it does take that courageous commitment and decisiveness so that things can change. Because if we just kind of hold back and wait and hope and pray that things will change, but we're not willing to do any work in partnership with the Lord, where are we going to be? So I just really honor that about you.
It also, my biggest struggle was trying to change him. And so this helped me shift my thinking about that.
Yes. And you've just grown it so beautifully. And it's been just such a joy to watch the Lord just kind of let this beautiful flower blossom right in front of our eyes, and to see the love and connection come back in your marriage and your faith come alive again. I mean, it puts the gas in our tank, and we're like, oh, there's more Sarahs out there that need help. But I know you wanted to call your story Rags to Riches. So tell us a little bit about, what did you get rich quick, or tell us about what you meant by that beautiful title.
Well, so rags, from Rags to Riches is, the rags were the way we were living, cohabiting, existing in a marriage that wasn't a marriage. And we were just, plodding along. And the riches came when he started seeing the changes in me. And now I'm flush with love and commitment and, connection with him that I haven't had for a very long time. And it's even more so now than ever has been. So those are the riches I was describing.
I love it. And those are the best kind. Those are the best kind. And I think some people think, well, if I do all this work on me and I give him what he needs, but what about me? What about my needs? I'm depleted. The beautiful thing that I've heard you share is like, as you were able to pour from this full cup of the Lord and having your renewed mind and having your heart feel differently and be able to see things differently and treat him differently. In response, now your cup is getting filled. You're getting the love, the commitment, the connection, even the acts of service that are coming. It's like, it's so beautiful how you're getting more than what you bargained for. It sounds like, just in you being willing to give first, right?
Exactly.
So,
And also through this whole process, I used to be a very active volunteer, specifically for like women and children's causes in the Houston area. And now that I've come through this, this 8 weeks, I guess it's been now, nine, almost 9. My cup, like you were saying, is so full that I have all of this excess to give. And I've started now volunteering with a couple of very worthwhile organizations in town. So I'm back, Sarah's back.
I love it. I love it. The ripple effect, like this is just lights us up because we're like, we can't measure the ripple effect of you doing this work of like now these women and children and their women, their friends, their children, like the generations, your 2 boys, the life they're going to live now compared to what it would have been if you hadn't taken this courageous action. It's unfathomable. And your 2 boys are same age as my 2 youngest boys too. So that also has driven me to really help and coach you, Sarah. So because we do more for others usually than we do for ourselves. And just the kind of mother you are to fight for this, for them, for you, for your husband. It's so beautiful. So what would you say? Is there anything else you'd want to share, about your story that we haven't had a chance to explore yet?
Well, it's not over yet. I mean, I still have at least another week with you.
Oh, yeah.
And if you had asked me on November 22nd that if I'd be sitting here today saying what I'm saying, it wouldn't have even crossed my mind. But God is great. I can't believe how much I've been missing in his love and just his all presence in my life.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. From November 22nd to here today, it's the last day of January. Wow. Well, Sarah, what would you encourage those women out there who their husband has said, I'm done, I want a divorce, or those husbands out there or whose wives have said, that's it, I'm moving out, I can't do this anymore. What would your encouragement to them be?
Pray, breathe, lots of breathing. And try to have confidence in yourself that you can find a solution and that hopefully this solution is, and this process and teaching is good and will help them find themselves. Because I think a lot of times women will get so lost in the duties of their duties at home. I work full time, my duties at work, my kids' responsibilities, sports, birthday parties. I mean, everything, cooking. You've got to think about yourself and find yourself again. So, and the best way to do it is working with you too.
Oh my goodness. It's so beautiful, Sarah. So what we offer you guys out there, if that's you and you're finding yourself in that very situation, or maybe you're with your spouse and you've been trying a lot of the traditional methods and nothing seems to be working and you're just rehashing old problems, or you're stunted in the marriage and you really want actual biblical help. Scott and I offer a complimentary breakthrough call. You can book it at, let me put it up here, guys. You can book that call at turnaroundmarriage.com/call. And on that call, we're going to do exactly what Scott did with Sarah. We're going to first get to the bottom of what's not been working in your marriage. What is this costing you? How is this hurting you and your children? What's going on? But we're not going to just stay there, right? We're really going to help you cultivate a beautiful dream of what your marriage could be, right? With maybe it's connection, or maybe it's love, or maybe it's passion, or maybe it's resolving conflict, or moving past the hurt, or whatever. And then we're going to talk about a real strategy to get there. And if we are certain and confident that we can help you, we will for sure show you what that would look like to work together, as Sarah has done. But if there's something better, guys, we're going to point you to whoever or whatever will serve you the best, because no matter what, our goal is to help get you that massive value and clarity out of that call, and ultimately to build the kingdom. We want to build and strengthen God's kingdom. We know that marriage is under attack. We know husbands are under attack. Wives are under attack. And we know life can get busy and we can get complacent. But we also know incredible hope and healing, and even a marriage stronger than it was in the beginning, as Sarah has demonstrated, is available and it's possible. So go to turnaroundmarriage.com/call, book that call as soon as you can. Let's get to work together quickly to get this marriage turned around for the glory of God. So, Sarah, thank you so much for taking time out of your precious busy day to share your story, to give this hope to the world. And thank you so much for just being who you are, the beautiful self that you are.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Good night for now. We'll talk to you guys soon.